want to give another tip for healing off hours, healing at night. You know, for a lot of us, definitely the pattern I've observed is waking up in the middle of the night. I've seen other videos on YouTube talking about the significance of waking up between 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock. Spiritual significance. And I can't remember exactly what those videos talked about. Or yeah, I don't even know. I think I watched one or two. But whatever the case, when you wake up, I'm somebody that for a long time has had this pattern of, it's like deep immersion when you go to sleep, and these other dimensions of consciousness, formless, and also these different dimensions, you could say different realms, dream states. It's kind of a low resolution. I look at that word dream as kind of a low resolution description of what's going on at night, but just for simplicity's sake, you visit all these different places and sometimes just out cold. But it's like I'll immerse and then I come up, wake up for a little while, go back, wake up for a little while. Lately it's been more just in it, asleep, unconscious, all the activity of those subtler experiences. And then usually I'll wake up once around, seems to be around 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, something like that. Now you don't want to, there's different levels of this and I could give different advice that would work at different points, different things I've done at different points. And on the one level, sometimes you just have too much energy. And so you're awake and just laying in bed might just be frustrating. And so sometimes, not so much lately, but sometimes I've gotten up and I've done like chores, or just kind of walked around, paced, sometimes maybe a little bit of reading, got a Bible that I read out of. Just reading, but maybe just a little bit of movement, getting up, moving around. I tend not to do like screen time. I don't think. I can't really remember. Maybe occasionally, like if there's a basketball game or something, I'll watch it, but I'd say probably best to avoid screen time. Clean up around the house, get ahead on something else, because it's like if I'm just going to be in my bed spinning, I may as well get up and do something and burn off some energy. And you can also get into that whirlpool of shit, I'm never going to get to sleep, and that amps up your anxiety, so it's harder to get to sleep. And then it's like, fuck, it's 4:30, oh shit, it's 4:45, it's 5, shit, I'm just not going to get to sleep. And that can be a really bad cycle. So sometimes it's helpful to get up. But lately, for a while now, and also, yeah, it's good to have just different resources to figure out what does my body, my psychology need. So I'm kind of, offering some different approaches that might be more appropriate, even within the span of a week for one person. These aren't necessarily like developmental steps or anything like that, but I've noticed, this can be a very rich terrain when you don't really have anything on the docket. Like that's the time of the day, of the 24-hour period, when our business is resting, when our work, so to speak, when our activity, it's kind of the opposite of activity, opposite of work, but what we are supposed to be doing, quote unquote, it's the time that's allotted for resting, let's say it that way. And so it's a really rich time for healing work. And I described in this last video, I just recorded a video about surrendering everything over to God when you lay down at night. Everything that's come before, just saying, I surrender all of that, kind of coming into your body. If you wake up in these wee hours of the night, of the early morning, you can lay in bed and maybe you've just had really intense incomplete energies or unprocessed stuff or frightening dreams coming forward in the dream state, sleep state. And so you can allow that stuff to surface and cry and shake and emote however it wants to move. That can be very fruitful because you're in this somewhat liminal space when you've just woken up and it's the middle of the night, where the strictures, is that the right word? The rigidity of consciousness is not as strong. Consciousness is not as rigid. There's this kind of fluidity between the unconscious stuff and the world of apparent physicality. And so it can be a good time to work through some of that because you're already halfway in it or fully in it. And you just lay there and you burn, you let it come up, surrender into it. All the stuff I've talked about in other videos, it's somewhere along the spectrum of surrendering into it, just total passivity, total relaxation, softening. It can also be a little bit more of an active penetration with your awareness, with your energy, subtler aspects of your being, penetrating, going directly, actively going into those spaces energetically, to kind of the seed energy behind the images, permeating the images. There's that feeling tone, that seed tone going into that, and sort of through attention and through awareness, energetically touching it, you start to digest those energies. They start to move. So it can be just a very passive surrender, allowing for stuff to come up and to move. Sometimes it's helpful to more actively move into it. And I found doing that, working through that, through the restlessness, through the problematic thoughts, through the energies, the undigested energies and images, etc., that can shorten the amount of time that you're awake and get you back to sleep a lot quicker, because it's like, yeah, you're moving back into a rested state. That digestion has happened and you're just kind of back into a rested state and head back to sleep. So that can be a good, useful, or helpful healing thing to do. It can be a really good time. Now, you don't want to be overly like, yeah, I mean, you don't want to be like, I got to optimize every moment of my existence, and that can be its own trap and rigidity and counterproductive. So it's not really about that. It's just something that develops gradually. You may find is useful. You may experiment with. You know, what's up that's wanting to be released, that's wanting to be healed, and can this be a space for that?